一对澳洲夫妇到中国还不到24小时，就在一个偏远的主题公园里看到了一样东西，让他们彻底傻眼。
When it was dancing, if you'd glanced over, you'd have thought it was a real person. This was incredible. We've never seen such a lifelike robot before. It was just mind-blowing to watch that.
故事要从这对澳洲夫妇入境中国说起。他们从老挝坐着中老铁路一路北上，第一站就是昆明。出发之前，两个人做了大量的功课，可以说是做足了准备。但即便如此，真正踏上中国的土地时，他们心里还是没什么底。毕竟对很多西方游客来说，中国的移动支付生态、语言环境和完全不同的互联网体系都是一个巨大的未知数。不过，火车穿过中老边境的友谊隧道时，隧道里上演的一幕倒是给了他们一个相当有仪式感的欢迎。
Went through the Friendship Tunnel, which in the middle went all kind of, it was really long, and in the middle of it was dark, and in the middle it was just all these different colours, and then there was the Chinese flag.
A bit like Austin Powers or something when you were changing through to Journey of the Center of the Earth.
这条友谊隧道全长将近10公里，是中老铁路上最长的跨境隧道。隧道中间就是两国的分界线，中方特意在那里设置了灯光秀，五星红旗的画面在隧道壁上亮起，算是给每一位从这里入境的旅客一个正式的欢迎仪式。对于这对澳洲夫妇来说，这大概是他们经历过最有科幻感的边境线了。通关过程倒是出奇的顺利，两人提前在网上填好了入境卡，过海关、出站，一切按部就班。但真正的考验其实是在到达昆明之后才开始的。
Long story short,
arriving in China, we were worried about so many things not working. We'd set everything up as best we could, and then in the end, things did work.
听起来好像还不错，对吧？但是他说的是大部分。火车到站，两个人按照提前查好的路线，顺利找到了地铁站，找到了要坐的线路，一切看起来都在掌控之中。然后问题来了。
When we arrived in the city in China at the end of the train line, Kunming, followed the instructions we'd made to go to the metro, and then we couldn't buy our tickets. 4 different payment methods didn't work.
4种支付方式集体阵亡，场面一度非常尴尬。其实这种情况在外国游客身上并不罕见，虽然支付宝和微信都已经开放了境外银行卡绑定功能，但在实际使用中，尤其是地铁自动售票机这种场景，境外卡的兼容性经常会出问题。很多来中国旅游的外国博主都在视频里吐槽过类似的经历，但接下来发生的事情大概是很多中国人习以为常，但在外国人眼里相当暖心的一幕。
We ended up asking a customer service lady at the station who didn't speak any English, but she was really happy to help us. She basically took our phones off us, put all things in, handed it back. Basically, she managed to set the metro pass up on our WeChat for both of us.
一个不怎么会说英语的地铁工作人员拿过2个老外的手机，3下5除2就把乘车码搞定了。这种场景在中国太常见了，常见到没有人觉得有什么特别。但对于这对澳洲夫妇来说，这种素不相识的热情帮忙显然留下了非常深刻的印象。而且不只是这一次，后来他们反复提到中国人的友好。
Yeah, in the hotels, the girls really don't speak much English, but they're very quick with a smile and just trying on the translate.
Yeah. Everyone, like we said, everyone is so friendly and so helpful here.
这其实是很多外国游客来中国后最出乎意料的感受之一。在西方媒体的叙事里，中国经常被描绘成一个封闭的、不太友好的地方，但几乎每一个真正踏上中国土地的外国博主都会在视频里表达同样的惊讶。中国人对外国人实在是太热情了，语言不通不是问题，掏出手机打开翻译软件就能交流。这种务实的沟通方式反而让很多外国人觉得比那些英语普及率很高的国家更有人情味。搞定了交通问题之后，两个人顺利到了酒店，然后出门解决了一个更重要的问题，吃饭。
Google Translate or Microsoft Translate worked perfectly. We translated the menu. Went to a noodle place last night. They spoke 0 English. We have 0 Chinese, apart from hello and thank you. You know, we watched them make the noodles there in front of us.
Quite
That
impressive.
was
现场拉面这件事在中国任何一个城市的街头巷尾都能看到，但对于来自澳洲的人来说，这大概相当于一场免费的厨艺表演。不过真正让他们瞪大眼睛的不是拉面的手艺，而是结账的时候。
great. And, you know, it was so cheap as well, like about $8 Australian for 2 bowls of noodles and 2 drinks.
8澳元，折合人民币大概30多块，2碗现做的面条加2杯饮料，30多块。这个价格对中国人来说就是一顿普通的午餐，但对于来自澳洲的人来说，这大概相当于打了3折。要知道，在澳大利亚的大城市，随便一碗面条至少要15到20澳元起步， 而且大概率还是工厂流水线生产的现拉的面条价格要再翻1倍。后来他们去了一家便利店买水，价格更是让他们感叹。
Some water and snacks.
Yeah, water
really
was
cheap.
like 20 cents each.
Yeah, everything seems cheaper than Laos, which was quite cheap.
And Thailand, basically, as well.
一瓶水2毛澳元，折合人民币还不到1块钱。这种物价水平，在中国的3、4线城市确实很常见，但对于来自发达国家的游客来说，这种物美价廉的体验，往往是他们对中国印象最深刻的一部分。而且不只是便宜，而是在这个价格下，还能获得很高的品质和便利性，这才是最让他们想不到的。除了物价，昆明这座城市本身也给他们留下了相当不错的第一印象。
Nice city, Kunming, of what we see, and electric cars and electric scooters. So it's really quiet. It's clean, well organized. You know, the streets are nice and wide. We're right next to a big main road, but it's so quiet with everything driving past.
这一点恐怕是让很多外国人最意外的。在他们的想象中，中国的大城市应该是嘈杂的、拥挤的，到处都是汽车尾气。但现实是，中国的电动化转型已经走在了全球最前列。根据最新的数据，中国新能源汽车的市场渗透率已经超过了 50%， 而且电动2轮车的保有量更是一个天文数字。所以当这对澳洲夫妇站在昆明街头，听到的不是引擎轰鸣，而是近乎安静的车流时，这种反差感确实会让人印象深刻。而更让他们觉得有意思的是电动车上的一个中国特色细节。
And the scooters all have like quilts on the front of them so that you can stick
individually, privately
Yes.
designed with different...
Yeah, well-
and a school with obviously 100 kids, all of who arrive on scooters and things like that, but no noise.
电动车挡风被，这个东西大概是中国最接地气的发明之一了。每到冬天，大街上5颜6色的挡风被，就像一场非官方的时装秀，卡通图案的、碎花的，各种风格应有尽有。这个东西在中国太普遍了，普遍到没有人会觉得它有什么特别，但在外国人眼里，这简直就是一个充满想象力的民间智慧结晶。澳洲基本上没有这种东西，因为澳洲人骑的要么是自行车，要么是大排量摩托车，电动2轮车的普及率远远不能和中国比。2个人入住的酒店也给了他们不小的文化冲击。
Our hotel in Kunming, first hotel in China, and it's a smart hotel because it uses lots of technology. Toilet has a heated seat and it flushes when you sit on it. There's a robot to deliver room service. The room speaks to us when we go in, but we don't know what it says.
智能马桶、送餐机器人，这些东西在中国的连锁酒店里已经非常普遍了，尤其是那些价位在200-300块的经济型智能酒店。但对于这对澳洲夫妇来说，这些配置简直像是住进了科幻电影。要知道在澳洲，同等价位的酒店能有个干净的房间和稳定的热水就算不错了。而且他们住的连锁智能酒店价格大概也就200块人民币。接下来他们在酒店里发现了一个更有趣的东西。
This is for cleaning my shoes. I want to use this. Oh, look at the difference. That's very cool. Look how clean my shoes are now.
一台自动擦鞋机就能让他们兴奋成这样，这种反应其实挺真实的，不是因为这个东西有多高科技，而是因为这些细节体现了一种服务理念上的差异。中国的酒店哪怕是经济型的，也会想方设法在细节上给客人提供便利，而在很多西方国家的酒店，同等价位的房间里能有个免费的咖啡壶就已经算是贴心了。2个人在昆明安顿下来之后，第2天决定去一个相当冷门的地方探险。
Day in China, and today's adventure is to try and find Dwarf Empire.
But a lot of people would say, what's Dwarf Empire?
小矮人王国，这个位于昆明郊区的主题公园，在国际上的争议其实不小。一些西方媒体曾经批评它物化了身材矮小的人群，但实际上，园区里的工作人员在接受采访时表达了完全不同的看法。
It's a theme park as we understand it.
So it's kind of like it's work for them.
I think it's an ergonomically sized place that dwarfs live that has a theme park attached to it.
Because they could be discriminated against in the general population to get just regular jobs.
这对夫妇对这个话题的态度其实挺值得玩味的，他们没有像一些西方博主那样急着站在道德高地上去批判，而是选择先去看看，先去了解，然后再做判断。而去这个地方本身就是一场不小的冒险。高德地图给出的路线是：先坐地铁，再转公交，最后骑行4公里，
The hill in the past for us hasn't ever gone that well, so we need to shortcut it, but we've done a lot of rejigging things. We can get Didi to work, 2 modes of transport, 1 destination, just over an hour.
对于中国人来说，滴滴就是日常出行工具，打开 App 输入目的地就完事了。但对于外国游客来说，能不能成功叫到车，司机能不能找到自己，沟通会不会有障碍，每一步都是未知数。好在结果相当完美。
Okay, we've arrived at Wharf Empire. Very friendly Didi driver who helped us with everything.
And pushed us into the ticket center too.
把乘客一路带到售票窗口，这种事大概也只有中国的司机会做了。在澳洲叫个 Uber， 司机能准确找到你的位置，就已经谢天谢地了。到了目的地停好车，客气说声到了，就算是优质服务了。而这位昆明的滴滴司机直接充当了半个导游的角色。进了园区之后，2个人还意外的享受到了一个额外福利。
A discount because we're teachers. We had to show our teaching certificates, which meant nothing to them, but they were happy to see them. And
澳洲的教师证在中国当然是不被官方认可的，但景区工作人员看到了，还是给打了折。这种灵活和善意也是很有中国特色的处理方式。进入园区后，2个人就像走进了一个童话世界。
up the magical stairs next to all the magical mushrooms. All the little houses, pretty Lilliput houses.
整个园区的设计确实很用心，城堡、蘑菇屋、精灵小镇，各种童话元素布置的很有沉浸感。不过真正让这对夫妇惊掉下巴的是园区里的一场表演。表演的第一部分就是文章开头提到的那个机器人舞蹈，几只机器狗和一个人形机器人跟着音乐跳舞。对于这对来自澳洲的夫妇来说，这种在一个荒郊野外的小众主题公园里看到前沿科技产品的反差感，大概是最让他们震撼的地方。表演的后半段则是一出热闹的舞台剧。
The first part of the show was some robot dogs. When it was dancing, if you'd glanced over, you would have thought it was a real person. This was incredible. We've never seen such a lifelike robot before. It was just mind-blowing to watch that. The next part of the show was a big story acted out by characters of a king. It was so fun to watch, and we didn't really know what was going on. It was such a good atmosphere, a fun show to watch. Everyone enjoyed it. And at the end, the characters all posed with lots of bottles of oil.
食用油和大米当赞助商的合影环节，这大概是最具中国特色的商业植入了。他们虽然看不太懂剧情，但整场表演的热闹氛围显然感染了他们。回过头来看这对澳洲夫妇在中国的第一天，其实是一个非常典型的预期与现实的故事。出发之前，他们担心支付用不了，地图打不开，语言不通，没法交流。结果到了之后，支付宝、微信虽然一开始出了点小问题，但在热心工作人员的帮助下，很快就搞定了。语言不通，也被翻译软件加上，中国人骨子里的热情好客根本就不是问题。一碗现拉的面条只要10几块钱，一瓶水不到1块钱。街上安静的像是把所有汽车都换成了静音模式。这些对中国人来说稀松平常的日常堆叠在一起，却构成了一个让外国人不断发出惊叹的中国。而这才是最值得中国人感到骄傲的地方，不是某一个宏大的成就，而是这些渗透进普通人生活里的不知不觉间已经领先世界的日常细节。